Welcome to the live demo for this project, which I have named Project001. It is meant to be kind of a web application for an e-commerce website, which is similar to IKEA, where assume that this company named Project001 wants to sell desks and beds and wants to create a website where a user can easily interact, browse, and shop whatever they want. That's the whole point of this. It is a fully responsive website created only using media queries and no external framework like Bootstrap. And the reason I opted for this is to kind of show my proficiency and understanding of native languages rather than frameworks, because these larger frameworks are typically or are literally just made of native languages. So having a proper understanding of the native language means that you can do what a framework can in essence. So all the responsiveness handled via media queries, all the design is handled using basic flexbox and grid layouts that is offered in CSS, and all the elements are in HTML. All the animations are a mix of CSS and JavaScript combined. So as mentioned here, you can read the README for all of everything I just mentioned again. And let's get right into the project. So here's the project landing page, and on like a user opening the web page, it would have some scroll animation using the AOS libraries, faced with some popping text, to attract the user's eyes. So your home remade, live with project, and again, project is like the brand. So I opted for a black and white theme because it seems like it's the easiest to interact with, work with, read, and honestly, like it makes it easier to have the things that you want to pop out. Like all my images, they really pop out with the white background, as well as the black text and the purple text even, which you can see here on Shop Now, Project, Remade, and even the home in this nav bar. So moving on to the nav bar. Simple featured desk, beds, home. This is all this website kind of offers. The featured is basically the furniture that you see on this landing page, and then different desks and beds are shown afterwards. So there's this animating scroll, which kind of indicates to the user that, it's time to scroll down, or they could click it if that's what they're inclined to do, or they can just hop using the nav bar to featured. So in the featured, this is again exactly the same things that these are essentially the product pictures of these. So as you can see, the Tough Jord, you have the product pictures up here, and then so on and so forth for all of them. So simple. I made sure that this was red, the price tag was red, so that it would pop in the black and white theme allows for this popping nature to be really easy to create, and it attracts the eyes. Like almost the first thing you look at would be the price tag, and then work your way to the title, and then obviously the product display, and then lastly, for more details, you'd look at the description. So on hover, you can see the dimensions of the product itself. And yeah, I made sure that I opted for something where it filled all the viewports, or basically it'd fill the screen per every section, just for organization and interactiveness. It makes it very clear and organized as to what you're looking at, and you don't really have to decide, is this what was featured, or was this in this, etc. So yeah, so you can move on to desks or just simply scroll down. That works as well. Again, this fully functioning, excuse me. Same concept here, more images obviously here, and overall same concept. And then you can move on to beds. Same thing here. Display beds, title, price tag, description. And here you have the footer with a copyright, some uplifting words, and again, the same colored emphasis that matches the home color here. So users know that this will bring it back home, and it does the same functionality as this. It makes it easier when things are color coded for the user to navigate the website. Again, on this, just to make the landing page a little bit more interactive, I opted for changing the opacity on hover for all of these images. And this is a product statement, a company statement, I suppose, which kind of makes the user feel a little bit more inclined to purchase. So moving on from here, I did have to create a server side to handle the /get request. So this product shopping cart could kind of be portrayed here. So this is essentially kind of like a demo of what a shopping cart, order summary, and checkout would kind of look like using this kind of like, I guess, minimalistic website. So here the user purchased a Tough Jord Linmon / Calyx and an Idacin, and the quantities are obviously here. Very simple to read and understand what's happening. This is the quantity, this is the title, this is the name, and so just so that the user doesn't have to go back and see, oh, is this the same thing? There's also an image attached here, and this is done using Flexbox, obviously, since there's no use of external frameworks. And then the order summary, red to pop and make sure that the user knows exactly what they're paying for. And obviously smaller charges are smaller just for the sake of making sure that what they pay attention to is what they're buying, and any excess fees are kind of smaller so that it doesn't catch too much attention in terms of like what they should be looking at in terms of, oh, is this the correct price for this, or is this the correct bed I purchased? So yeah. Then there's a subtotal and a checkout button. Obviously this has no functionality. It is meant to be like a design. So no functionality, however there's hover animations and so on and so forth. From here the users can navigate back to the home and even to specific areas if they so wish to do so. Kind of works like that. So in terms of responsiveness, this was done, again, as I mentioned, entirely with media queries. So there'd be a media query for a given pixel amount, and then once it hits that, the entire format of the web page changes. And there had to be a lot of these because different elements function differently, so you might have to change a CSS property earlier on for the effect to be later shown at different pixel sizes. So the most notable one, is if you can pay attention to the nav bar here, is obviously collapsing. The overhead nav bar collapses into almost like a folder which users can click, and then they have all their options pop out this way. And these are obviously all functional. You can go back here, so on and so forth, but for the sake of now, let's focus on the shopping cart. Here, the order summary gets a bit larger to fill up more of the space, checkout buttons there, and same with the footer. And you can continue to shrink it, and this is we're reaching about the mobile handheld device range, where everything is almost like a column. And I made sure that these were separated so that people and users understand that this quantity is associated with this one, and this does not refer to this. So there's sometimes confusion. Oh, does this one mean one of this, or does this two mean two of these desks? So to avoid that, I added a sufficient gap for the user to know that there's a difference. And yeah, obviously the footer is here. I opted to remove the text since it was taking up too much space and it would cause lots of different bugs and issues. Everything else works as functioned, same with this, and yeah. So now we can move on to the full website, so the actual, not the shopping cart, but the home. And again, I opted to change the entire design of this landing page depending on what screen size is viewing it, because I felt like that would work the best in this situation. So here, too many pictures, let's cut some out. Too many pictures, let's cut some out. Let's adjust the margins here, make sure it fits the entire screen, makes everything look filled. And then eventually I opted for something like a complete remake with different screens, with different images, different shapes and sizes, same text, same functionality, just a little bit different in the design. And then as we go closer and closer, I opted for something like this for the final handheld device. Obviously this nav bar works just as mentioned before. I opted for something where it's just a full screen image rather than dealing with a bunch of small components, because on a handheld device those small components might just like completely slip the user's mind or eyes. So having this big background probably makes a better impression. Obviously this works as functioned, And all of this is also fully responsive, so there's no real problem with that, as you can see. Fully responsive, same with all this. And this, if you keep compressing this, it'll turn into, again, a more of a column row, and again, with the footer then compresses down. And all of this works as functioned, and same with this. So that is the entire responsive nature, and this basically covers from the pixel size that I'm using, which is about the size of an average monitor, to basically all the way down to a handheld device. So this website is fully responsive for all types of users, and it's user-friendly, easy to navigate, eye-catching at the right things, beautifully designed in my opinion, and minimalistic when it needs to be, and that leads to a better user experience and creates some sort of like trust between the seller and the user who's using this. And that is all for this project.